The morning after the Patriots ran the table in the regular season, becoming the first team in NFL history to go 16-0 in the regular season, Mercury Morris, a member of that 14-0 72 Dolphins team, said this: "My feeling about it is as consistent as it has been all year. It doesn't matter to me whether or not they win them all because it doesn't affect anything we've done. When all the dust clears, the best they can do is to stand beside us. And in the end, that's not a bad thing. I will welcome them to the neighborhood with my Mr. Rogers sweater on, but first they have to get to the neighborhood." Well, we say hello now to Mercury Morris. And Mercury, why aren't the Patriots in your neighborhood yet?
Actually, because our neighborhood is the finality. They are in a status called unbeaten. So thus far, they are not undefeated. Undefeated is the culmination of being unbeaten. So after you've won all your games, regardless of how many that is, it's not about how many games you've won. It's about how many games you didn't lose, because that's the criteria for the automaticness of going undefeated. And unfortunately, the only person who really knows what they're talking about in this conversation is me, because I speak from what's called subjective experiential knowledge, meaning I went undefeated along with all 45 of my other teammates. So everything that you're talking about is speculation. There may be a hope that this occurs. There may be a wish that it occurs. But the reality is that it hasn't occurred yet. So if, in fact, they do run this gauntlet that they've got coming up, and they do go through this and they win every game, and they don't have to do it convincingly, I have more respect for them for the games in which they were on the ropes and they came back than I do for the games that they buried everybody, because that's the most important thing to show the character of what it takes to do this. You've got to remember, we did it in 1972. 1,290 chances later is what we're talking about now. So I think that over the 35 years, if somebody would have been good enough to do it, it would have been done. It's just that now, after 35 years, the team has finally come up with the ability and the talent and the consistency to get that done. But it's not over yet. And I'm telling you, if they do this, they will join the ranks of the unbeaten, which is who we are. So now we'll have a model of what to look at. Old school, which is where we come from, and the new school, which is where they come from. The rules are different. The play is different. The game is different. The people are different. We came from what you would call middle-class fans who created from middle-class players who created this league. If you look at the Orange Bowl, you see that, look at the seats there. There are no suites at the Orange Bowl. It's just stands. So when you went to that game, that's why people that can't really relate to what's happening now, because these guys are millionaires, rich kids when they come out of college. Some kids coming out when they're 20 years old. So the reflection of the game has changed. So I wouldn't really want to be compared from now to then.
With that said, and you saying that the reflection of the game has changed, that being said, in this day and age with free agency and how the game has evolved, how positions have evolved, such as the quarterback position, can't you give props to what the Patriots were able to do in that regular season?
Let me explain something to you. If we won 16 games and then we lost in the Super Bowl, our season would mean nothing. So props don't come now, miss. Props come at the end of the day when you get your report card. Not how well you think you did, but how well you actually do. And that will show up on February 3rd. So why don't we just wait till February 3rd before we start passing out the crowns? I'll be one of the first, I'll be the first one to say that you guys deserve this, because it isn't easy. The 1,290 tries, and you've come up with nothing so far except tries. That would be an tremendous compliment for them, and I take my hat off to them for it. But they haven't done it yet. Let's do that, then do this interview that say, will you give them props now, Mercury, now that they've gone this far? This far isn't far enough. You got to go to 19-0, and that doesn't mean that's better than 17-0. You got to get the O part now, where the 19 is not relevant. You get knocked out now, and that O means nothing. You got to win now the next season.
I don't think anyone would disagree with you, and no one thus far has given them a crown. I think people are sort of just...
What do you mean no one's giving him a crown? You guys just ran a piece last week where Bill Parcells, acting like he was Frankie Five Angels Pantanglia, telling everybody how The Dolphins would have lost in 72 to the Patriots. The Steelers would have lost the 78 Steelers to the Patriots. The 85 Bears would have lost to the Patriots. The 49ers would have lost to the Patriots. Guess what? They never played. It didn't happen. All of that was made up. So don't feed into that idea that, well, this is what would happen if we did this. Let them play the game. Let the game come out the way it's supposed to come out. And if they're still standing there when the dust clears, I will be you call me first, and I'll say, hey, you guys, welcome to the neighborhood, because there's still only 2 of us here.
So in the history of sports, when we compare, whether it's a writer or anyone on television, when we compare teams, whether it's a Red Sox team that won a World Series, when you compare teams to other teams in the past, when you take this year's perhaps Red Sox team that won the World Series and compare them to another team that won the World Series team in the past, are you saying it's not fair to compare teams like that?
I'm saying that you really can't get a real comparison that works for you because, number one, you came up and I'm going to use the Dolphins as an example. So Bill comes up and gives a reason why the Patriots would have beat us. But if we never lost to anybody and we're the only team that ever did that, there's something called an X factor that you have to deal with. Why did this team do that? Well, because they had something that no other team ever had. Yet in the blind, we would lose to these people? Come on, you're making that up. Why? I don't know. Let the game be played. Let them win the championship. Then you start your comparison, but don't compare them to us. Compare them to the people they played against, and then compare us to the people we played against. See where we stood in terms of the league's effort versus our effort, and in terms of the league's effort versus their effort, and then make the comparison. But you can't have it where now we've come up to a conclusion based upon a hypothetical that this is a fact.
Okay,
it just
Mercury,
simply doesn't work that way.
In all fairness, we didn't hand out the crown here, but we will talk to you. If the Patriots do run the table and win the Super Bowl, we'll bring you back on and then talk to you about it.
Oh, I'm sure you will. Oh, that's fair.
Okay. Well, we appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
Well, the Patriots' remarkable run thus far has earned them a bye for the first round of the playoffs.